fucking cold open. You just fucking hit the button and we record.
No,
God.
I don't know.
No, it's cold.
It's a cold open.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah.
Man. Line?
Yeah, line. We just finished the other episode.
Yeah.
Just
so, if you happen to listen to this the second it gets published,
yeah, you're behind.
you're... No,
We're
this
gonna-
one. You are 2.5 hours before the other episode comes out.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we're recording late, but
Yeah.
it'll be fine.
That's how it is. All right.
Sure. Oh, we got all of our talking out of the way. Every time
Yeah.
we do 2 episodes, it's always
Well, now that the
second recording is always just all right. Let's just
all right, let's
into
jump
it.
in. Now that the pores are out of the way,
Yeah.
let's see. This episode borders on some current events. Everything sucks right now, so
Oh, good.
if you don't want to hear about this kind of stuff, listen until you don't want to hear about it anymore.
Okay.
And you just leave.
Yeah.
He just stands up,
I
walks
just
out
go
of
to
the room.
sleep.
Yeah. No, it's, as you know from the title, we're talking a little bit more about Topaz. It's basically Topaz Stories Part 2, more like Part 1.5,
Yeah.
where I'm going to talk about like some specific stories of some interviews that I've read about people who were at the Topaz Japanese concentration camp.
And if you
Utah.
haven't listened to episode 7, go back and listen to it.
Yeah, you need to listen to that first.
Big, important lore dump before this episode.
Yeah, I like calling history a lore dump,
Yeah.
or a podcast a lore dump. That's good.
So we should rename our show to The Lore Dump.
The lore dump. That would be good. Let's see. So, the last time the Enemy Aliens Act was enacted was FDR. Enacting it, marking basically tens of hold on.
Famous paraplegic.
Paraplegic, yes.
FDR, thank you very much.
Not National Park
Not
guy.
Truman.
No, I was Well, I was thinking, I confused
I will
all
hold that
three
over
of them.
your head
That's
forever.
good. You should. It's embarrassing for me as a professional historian
Yeah.
to
To be
mix that up.
one-upped by me, a professional shithead.
Exactly. So, that last time that was enacted, all the concentration of Japanese Americans along the West Coast happened. Until like a month ago, it was enacted, and basically Trump's used it to target people of Venezuelan descent who are living in this country legally, who went through legal processes to live here, and forcing them back into, I don't know if you've heard anything about Venezuela in the last 10 years, 20 years.
Not really the greatest.
There's a reason people are fleeing there legally to come here, and illegally,
Yeah, there's
which
a
is totally
reason
fine.
that they're seeking asylum.
Yeah. So, does not look great. And then more recently, there's been a couple students scooped up who are here legally on educational visas and stuff. There are people who are, protesting and showing dissent, but are here legally, who are just being scooped up without a trace. It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. There's a lot of parallels that you see from a lot of topics that we cover. We're not going to get super into this modern day stuff, just so you know. It's just I'm purposefully drawing comparisons between this and the Topaz stories and these interviews. But man, it's scary. Who knew the new Gestapo 2.0 would be ICE?
Yeah, for real.
Ununiformed, not identifying themselves with administrative warrants that don't mean jack shit, scooping people up for weeks with no due process, deporting people with no due process, with no, the thing that some people kind of care about is the whole innocent until proven guilty, in a court of law.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, a lot of interesting parallels. So we're going to start off. First story, it's the actual story of Dave Tetsuno. I touched on this during that episode.
He was the
cameraman.
Yeah. I was going to say videographer, but cameraman
Pretty much,
is way
yeah.
easier to say.
Yeah, it is. So it makes us sound cooler, more hip with the kids. So
For those of you that are currently watching Succession and are like fully caught up, I was using too many big words. That's my performance review.
yeah. What?
You need to watch it.
I
It's
haven't watched
fucking good.
Succession.
You should. Or not Succession, fucking Severance. Not Succession.
Severance.
My
Okay.
bad. Severance. For those of
Severance.
you that
I
are
do
watching
need to watch Severance.
you also need to watch Succession. That one's
Is
a
that something
trip.
to watch with the wife? Severance.
you could.
Is that?
Yeah,
She'd be
Severance.
into that.
Severance. She would
She'd be
fuck
into
with
that.
it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
And
cool.
I guess we'll watch it together.
It's trippy. It just makes you really fucking hate work stuff.
Well, already. What's the difference?
But it like reminds you of how much you fucking hate.
I've heard a lot of people compare it to like the church, like working in the church and working in cults and working
Yeah.
kind of that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. So back to Dave. Dave Tatsuno, I very briefly covered his story already. So the beginning is a recap. You know, he had a great camera. He's Japanese-American descent. Even before the Enemy Aliens Act was enacted, Japanese Americans on the West Coast were not allowed to have cameras. So he sent his off to a friend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they had made it completely illegal for to own a camera.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's
As
awesome.
if they were spying with their Kodaks.
Jesus, yeah.
And
God.
like once the war broke out, they enacted that, I believe. Let's see. So yeah, he sent his camera out to a friend, and he gets sent to Topaz. Good old Topaz. He settles in as good as anybody can. His barrack that he and his family was assigned to, the windows were placed in that day, so the mud was still wet. Like it was rough. Obviously, it was horrible. He starts to, everybody gets jobs, everybody starts doing work and stuff like that. He starts managing the dry goods in the co-op for the camp.
Okay.
So, all the shit that they're farming, all the shit that they're, like the supplies that they're getting sent in, everything that they're making, he's over the dry goods. And he had a supervisor because, of course, the American government would not allow them to have any kind of organization within the camps if the person at the top wasn't a government agent.
Yeah. Jesus.
So a non-Japanese American was his supervisor.
Okay.
And who named Walter Honderick.
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 Huh.
Honderick. Honderick.
Sounds like a bitch.
I bet it was Hondrick.
Yeah.
I don't know. They worked together a lot. He wasn't a total bitch. Like he would actually do work. They would work together a lot. And
sounds a little bit less like a bitch, but still kind of a bitch.
And I believe they were out on recreation at this time. It's not really specified, but he's hanging out with Walter, and Walter whips out a video camera, and he starts filming.
Oh, hell
like
yeah.
they're just out. There's some beautiful scenery out there, out in the buck-ass nowhere, Utah. I think it is. Most don't. D.
Yeah. Some of it's cool. Some of it is dog shit.
Yeah,
Most of it is
I like it
shit.
either way. I think it's awesome. But he's filming. They start talking, and Walter's like, yeah, I love like filming and taking pictures and videos. Like, this is so cool. It's the 40s.
Yeah.
That's some cool shit.
Yeah.
And Dave trusts him, and he reveals that he had a camera before, and he also loved filming, and they talk about it. They really bond over this.
Hell yeah.
This thing. And Walter's like, so where is your camera? Where did it end up? Did you have to sell it? Like, where'd it go? And he says, I actually sent it to a friend for safekeeping.
Yeah, they sold it to some white guy with a weird last name.
Yeah. Some
Actually,
white
you look
idiot.
kind of familiar.
Yeah. No, and he mentions
His camera
the friend.
looks familiar.
Hold on. Open that up. It's got my name on there. Dave. Yeah, and so he tells the story of sending it off to his friend and does all this stuff. And without another word, a couple weeks later, Walter approaches Dave and gives him his camera, Dave's camera.
Nice.
He had
What a
reached
homie.
out to the friend, figured out, oh, he's still there. I guess it was easier to say, operator, is there a so and so in this town,
Yeah, true.
and got connected probably.
As long as the name isn't like Harry Simmons.
Yeah, well, then you say Harry Simmons, the one with the lisp.
Yeah.
And then the operator knows. Yes.
Harry Simmons.
Harry Simmons. So
Harry Simmons.
Harry
Simmons.
He gets the camera, and he tells the story. He's like, I contacted your friend, because I knew the whole story of you, he trusted me, and I had him ship me this box because I know my mail isn't getting screened.
Oh, that's hell yeah! What a homie.
Total homie.
That's cool as hell.
And he says, be careful. Don't film next to the barbed wire. Don't film, too close to the watchtowers. Because again, there was barbed wire. There were military patrols. If you got close, as we know from the previous episode, if you get too close to the fence, you'll get shot.
Don't, please, for the love of God, do not put that camera in the bathroom.
Yes, for the love of God, do not get a hazmat suit and go into the septic tank with this thing, okay? It's not waterproof. I've tried.
He hands him another package that has a fucking latex suit in it. And he's like, just don't take the camera down
Just
there.
don't take the camera.
Hey, Dave. Don't fuck me on this, Dave.
Don't fuck me on this. I get the left one, you get the right one. It's the same tank, but I just don't want to look at you. So yeah, they bond over this, and he starts filming. He films, as I mentioned, the only real, unaltered, non-propaganda video footage from inside the American concentration camps that we have. If you haven't seen it, you should see at least part of it. At least go to the YouTube. Just Dave Tatsuno, Tatsuno. And just skip around a little bit. His commentary is amazing, but he films a lot. People are smiling because, you're putting a camera up to people and the instinct is always to smile.
Yeah.
He gets a lot of, it's very intimate. It's very close friends, family.
It's genuine.
It's very genuine. We're just doing our best to stay entertained and to stay positive. Let's see. And he was eventually allowed to travel throughout the country on these merchandise runs where he would sell off some of their dry goods if they had a lot, pick up some more if they needed to buy some.
Interesting.
This allowed him to buy color film, weirdly enough, because while Japanese Americans on the West Coast couldn't have cameras, and people would question if you're trying to buy film, Salt Lake City, Utah did not have that law, so nobody really knew he wasn't allowed to have a camera. Yeah. So he was able to buy color film.
Nice.
And then he would send his film. He would mail it to his brother, who happened to be at the University of Utah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is the weirdest cognitive dissonance, stupid part of all this thing. His brother didn't have to go to a concentration camp because his brother didn't live on the West Coast.
Oh, that's fucked.
He had to be sent from the West Coast to a concentration camp 3 hours south of his brother, who was free and going to college.
That's fucking
How does that make any fucking sense?
Seriously, though.
Like,
they're like, we're going to lock you up for like an indeterminate amount of time, and we're going to move you out to where your brother lives. The shithole middle of nowhere, and he's going to be able to walk free.
Yeah,
and he's like, we're the same fucking nationality. He goes, I don't give a fuck.
No,
insane.
It's completely insane. I never even thought about that.
That's crazy.
That they, like, imagine you are one of two people of Japanese descent in Delta, Utah, and then they build the camp.
Yeah, and you're like, oh,
do I have to go there?
Yeah.
You go knock on the door, and they're like, no.
Yeah, they're
no,
like,
get out of here.
Get the fuck out of here. You're not welcome in here. You're like,
you're not
fuck?
welcome in here. You're not the fifth column. You're not a traitor.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Wait.
Do you have a California state ID?
Yeah, that's exactly it. We don't like them Californians. They're too liberal.
God.
And so, yeah.
Too Japanese. God.
They get out of the camps. They're able to at least partially rebuild their lives from this. But in the 90s, he spoke about the footage, and really wanted to point out that the people that he filmed and the people who even were talking about this in the 90s and beyond hid their feelings, their fear, their loneliness, their bitterness, their despair, in part to protect their kids.
Yeah.
To give them some hope, but also just because that's just the attitude that they kept with it. It was make the best of what we have.
Yeah, that's fair.
Hope we don't
makes sense.
get executed.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy shit.
I can't imagine how close that came to being.
I bet more often than we think.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Did those two ever reconnect, David and?
Nothing crazy as far as I can find. There were reunions and things, and they met up.
Oh, okay.
And they were
But it
friendly.
wasn't
They
like
were homies, but Dave went back home to California.
Yeah.
They kept in correspondence for a little bit, but
Yeah.
for a lot of people, for a lot of people, they just wanted to put it past them, put it behind
Yeah,
them.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Let's see, and I talked about this before. There's the full color run, 48 minutes, and then there's a black and white version with the commentary that's 80 minutes.
That's 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, 7. He didn't speak very
It was
much.
a supercut.
He had bronchitis or something. Too much benzene. So the next person is Hague.
I don't know.
I really want to say Prague, Hog, but I know that's not it. Minamoto. We'll say Minamoto is his their last name.
I could see it being Hog.
Or her last name.
Damn. Imagine.
I tried to
maybe
get some
Hug.
lady. So October 9th, 1942, her and her family arrived during a black dust storm, one of the worst ones that the camp had seen. They couldn't see shit. It's okay, you're flown in probably. You might be bussed in. But at some point, the windows are covered.
Yeah.
And you open and you're on Mars during a dust storm. That's, that's what it is from somebody living in San Francisco or something.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're on Mars.
It's like, oh, we're in hell.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
God, we're in doom.
She starts crying, as you would.
Yeah.
And they approach the camp. There's some pictures of this where they would have welcome, enter here sign on this. And then they would have tables on their sides blocking entrance into the rest of the camp. So you have to go into that door.
Oh.
So that you would know where to go to start. And then somebody would be there to greet you and catch you up and educate you on everything. So she's bawling because she runs into friends that she knows.
Oh, fuck.
And they start telling them the conditions of the camp, some of the rules, catching them up to speed. And she's losing it, obviously. This is horrible, horrible conditions. They get... her and her husband get 2 cots and one pot-bellied stove, and that's their entire worldly possessions.
Jesus.
You see, the real problem is that she's pregnant.
Oof.
She's very pregnant.
Damn.
So obviously, all that, plus being, sent to a concentration camp, which is enough to justify these feelings... She's basically at a breaking point and says, husband, I need a chair.
Yeah. Push me
Or
down a flight of stairs,
something.
please.
Get a stick with some nails in the end and hit me in the belly.
Yeah.
We need to do some shit. I need a chair.
Well, I mean, you've also got to, not only is she potentially raising this kid in such a terrible situation, it's not like they were oh, here's a hospice wing that is fitted for
no.
birthing a baby.
Their hospital was basically the same kind of barrack that you just that you live in. It's a
we wish you luck, but we actually don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, figure it out.
We hope some of the Japanese people that we've, deported to this place are doctors.
Yeah. It's just
Luckily, there were some doctors and nurses. But she is very defiant, and you can see it in some of her stories. She argues with her husband Because her husband's like, we just got here. I don't want to be caught stealing something. I don't, scavenging wood. I don't want to be caught stealing from the wood pile, which does have an armed guard most of the time.
Jesus Christ.
Like, I don't want to get caught and get shot and leave you without someone to support you.
Yeah.
And she says, if you don't scavenge some fucking wood and make me a chair, I'm going to do it. Look at me. Like, very pregnant. So he worked with a friend of theirs who happened to be one of the guards at the lumber pile. And every night for a little bit, they were able to sneak one piece of wood, random scrap wood.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. At least 11 pieces if it's a standard chair.
If it's a decent chair. And that's assuming they're all boards and not like triangles.
Yeah.
So they sneak through, and eventually, one board at a time, they get enough wood to make 3 shelves, 2 benches, and a very small table. And she was the lookout. So they knew when their friend was on guard, he would kind of, well, when I'm over here, I won't be able to see you over there. Don't get caught by me, but this is my blind spot kind of thing. That's what it seemed like. So he would sneak in, get the wood, and she would be the lookout. Oh, he's coming back. Okay, let's go. So they built up some stuff.
Just grab the piece and fucking throw it over your shoulder.
Yeah, I would grab
one
a
piece
handful.
a day. Yeah, grab like 3.
The problem is it's being inventoried.
Oh, I see.
So there's only so much you could take without getting caught.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and they find out. Well, they know their baby.
Imagine inventorying wood.
Yeah, in the hot
Jesus
desert.
Christ.
They know their baby is due in December. And they also know that potbelly stove is really not going to, keep a baby warm.
It's even worse, too, because that kid could be born on Christmas.
Oh, God.
That shit sucks.
Yeah, that's worse than being born in a concentration camp.
Seriously, though.
Jesus. So they're doing everything they can to scavenge everything they can, because they're hearing stories of, people not getting enough food. If you don't get enough food, you're not going to be able to breastfeed. Yeah. It's not like these camps are being supplied with baby formula. They're not even getting milk until they get their own cows. Like, it's such a terrible... Like, they get powdered milk if they're lucky, kind of thing. Let's see. So eventually, I talked about this in the episode, Sears did come to town.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So they were able to send money to Sears, and they were able to get some of their supplies. And remember, how much was it? They were getting like $14 a week or $14 a month or something like that. Like, not a lot of money. So they just got everything they could for babies.
Oh, nice.
And it's not like they could get diapers. Like, this is the 40s. They got to hand wash the shit-filled diapers.
Fuck that. There are people that still do that, too. I'm like, oh, God.
Ugh.
Like, I'm glad you're not...
It's better for the environment, but
fuck.
I wouldn't do that without, like, a dedicated laundry machine.
Please tell me you don't cook. Like, at least have who's washing them, wash them, and then whoever's cooking, cook.
Yeah, have it separated, please.
In 2 very different areas.
Yeah, different buildings. And, they're just trying to stockpile supplies while also not telling people about their supplies, not letting people come over. And December 24th comes around. There's a terrible blizzard.
Oh, no.
Terrible snowstorm. And she goes into labor.
Oh, damn, it was a Christmas baby.
It's a fucking Christmas baby. You called it. She starts, going through labor. And I think an arm comes out.
Oh,
it's a breech birth. So the baby is not lined up head first.
Of course it's a breech birth.
Of course.
Fucking concentration camp.
The doctor sees that it's a breech.
Whoa. That's new.
He throws his tools onto the floor and yells, "What are they trying to do to our people?"
Homie
has
pick
calipers.
Your fucking tools up.
That's all he has to deliver a breech birth. He can't do a C-section.
Oh no.
Like,
God damn.
at that moment for the doctor, it it wears on him. He's
like
over the top. He
we're
is done.
fucked. Yeah, I'm in over my head.
He's like, I can't do anything. Also, no medicine.
And she's like, there's an arm sticking out of me. Figure it the fuck out.
No painkillers.
Oh my God.
So somehow this doctor and this lady has to deliver her child, breech naturally,
arm first,
with no medications. And
fuck that, dude.
Yeah. So I can't even imagine. She doesn't go into it because she blacked out a lot and obviously does not want to remember this event. I would imagine there had to be some like maneuvering of the baby inside internally, and just like
it's a lot.
Probably some tearage. It would have to be. It basically came out sideways. But she remembers that the last thing that she remembered from that night was that she was sank under the covers afterwards and was sobbing, entirely soaking her sheets because their baby, despite all the complications, came out happy, simultaneously crying tears of regret that she birthed a child in a concentration camp.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, I'm happy that I have a baby now,
and it's healthy. Everything
but also
turned out.
Fuck, what life have I let this child into?"
Well, and it's not like these people even knew that they would ever be released.
Oh yeah,
there was no like
they weren't given like a hard 6 months.
No, they were never even given a court date.
Yeah,
like they didn't even know if they would just be executed at the end of this. Like nobody knew where this was going. And, now they have a baby. Now they have at least one less person to go and scavenge shit and work.
Yeah.
And one more mouth to feed. And it's a girl. It's a daughter. And she survived. The baby survived. They all survived. She has a couple more interviews if you're interested in her story. And I'll share the link. I'll tell you the website at the end of the episode, but she has a couple interviews that are really interesting on this website about just trying to raise a kid and getting through this whole thing. Crazy what somebody is able to do when they, before they were successful, made enough money, like, it's the early 40s, late 30s, totally stable. Let's bring a kid into this world. We got everything we need for him, to concentration camp.
Oof.
Horrible.
To birthing a kid sideways in a shack
during
Utah.
A snowstorm where a doctor just threw the only set of tools they have on the ground.
On Christmas.
On Christmas, of all things. Next, we've got Steve Fujioka. Let's see. His family transferred from the Tule Lake camp in September 1943. We talked about the Tule Lake camp. A lot of times that's where they sent the people who didn't pass the loyalty test to this camp.
Jesus
so
Christ.
These people came from that camp. He and his brother were given a room, and then the rest of his family was next door, in the barrack next door, because they were a pretty big family. He was a teenager, I believe. Yeah, he was a teenager at this time, and I really like the teenager stories. I touched on this a little bit during that episode. I'm just going to keep saying that phrase because I did. This is just more detail. So he noticed that at Tule Lake, families were assigned a table. So however big your family was, that's how big of a table you got. Everybody ate there. At Topaz, families were not assigned a table. And compared to Tule Lake, Topaz, their rules beat the family's rules. At Tule Lake, the family still had the say.
Okay.
So it changed the dynamic for him.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden, he doesn't have to eat with his family. He doesn't have to listen to his mom. And he's an angsty teenager in his senior year of high school.
Damn.
Well,
that's fucking nuts.
Yeah, so suddenly he has, weirdly, more freedom in this concentration camp than the other concentration camp.
Jesus Christ.
So, this led to some teenagers getting up to no good at times.
Yeah.
He was technically still going to high school within the camp. Let's see. He was really interested in the arts, in auto shop. But as you would, as a teenager in a concentration camp, he had no concern for the future. He's like, I don't even know if I'm going to be alive tomorrow.
Yeah.
Why would I start planning for anything? All there is this concentration camp.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know when you're going to get out if ever.
If ever. Yeah, exactly. So he got out of school and was like, well, that auto shop thing was okay. I'm going to make $12 a month as a mechanic's helper.
Jesus.
He did mostly body work on cars. In the summer of 1945, he became a drafting technician for the engineering department. He would go out and with survey crews to map and plot the camp and the camp's utility lines and shit like that.
Oh, okay.
Weirdly, I think the most famous map, the most well-known map of Topaz was drawn by him.
What?
Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
you can find it online or in the Topaz Museum. Yeah, that's his work.
How old was he when he did that?
He probably would have been 18, 19.
Oh, okay.
Because it was right after he finished high school. Let's see. But he's still like... Well, he was noted to struggle to take advantage of his downtime. He would, like, sometimes play some baseball, because that was pretty big in Topaz, but he would wake up, take a shower, eat, go to work, go to his barrack to go to sleep. Like, he didn't do anything else.
I mean, what else do you
He was
do?
fucking depressed.
Huh.
Obvious. Like, no concern for the future, doesn't do anything for leisure. Yeah, he's depressed in a concentration camp.
Justifiably so.
Totally.
Not in the concentration camp. Justifiably depressed.
Yeah, justifiably depressed for being
justifiably in the concentration
Yeah,
camp.
he
I'm
should have
D.
been there
I
'cause he's
suddenly
depressed.
changed my stance.
Suddenly
on
you're
things.
RFK who wants to,
Yeah, I slipped
depressed.
and hit my head recently.
Yeah, you got a brain parasite. And it must have starved to death. Let's see. So, and at this point, this was kind of a weird thing for him because he's just kind of subsists like so many people did until people start to leave. People are allowed to leave. His family starts leaving. His siblings start to leave the camp.
Where were they going? Just other camps?
No, it was getting to the end of the war.
Oh,
they were
okay,
able to line up.
I was like,
I've
how?
lined up a job. They're a little more lax. We know the war is coming to an end. So this person lined up a job so they can leave.
Oh, okay.
This person lined up a house. They know where they're going to go stay. They can prove it.
They're like, as long as you're not on the West Coast.
Pretty much, yeah.
Jesus.
So people are going through, and he's just, who cares? Fuck it.
Yeah.
I've got a job, whatever.
I'm sure. I don't blame him. I'd be the same way.
And then he gets really sick.
Oh, fuck.
His appendix
Oh, no.
flares up. And I'm not sure if it burst, but it might have burst. And it was his last summer in the camp.
Oof.
And he is in the camp hospital where that lady had a breech birth, getting appendix surgery. Like
Same tools.
Same tools, exactly.
They're holding open the fucking wound to take his appendix out with the calipers that they
Yeah, with the
they
baby
used on her.
calipers. And he was in the hospital for some recovery. He had some friends come in to see him, but they all noted, he was really depressed, obviously.
Yeah.
But then they were like, oh, there's a sign of the end of this. People are leaving. Like, we're able to leave. There's finally an end to this. People are kind of hitting on the nurses, and I don't know. He just was so fucking depressed. And this lasted for years.
He goes, put my appendix back in, please.
He's basically kicked out of the camp
Jesus.
because he doesn't have anywhere to go or anything to do.
Damn. They're like,
And-
bro, we've shut down. Like,
Yeah.
America likes Japanese people again.
Well, as long as they're the
Not
good
necess-
kind.
yeah.
Yeah, no. The positive racism. Have you seen stuff on positive racism?
Yes.
I think John Oliver did an
think
episode
so,
on
yeah.
it. So good.
It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
And so he's super fucking depressed, and he basically just this totally fucks up his life until he is like, well, I have no hope for the future. I've got no ambition. I've got no drive to do anything, and I'm depressed. I'm going to join the military.
Okay.
And he does. He joins the military, and I don't know.
Join
Just
that one Legion?
no. This is post-war.
Oh, this is post. Okay.
Post-war, he joins the military, and they're like, well, I guess technically you get the GI Bill now. And
Hey.
he goes to college and becomes an architect. He gets married, has a family, and kind of turns it around. But it stayed with him the rest of his life.
Damn.
This completely, and this is one guy. Like, imagine how many people have the exact same story.
Yeah, for real, dude.
Of, like, I don't know, America really wanted to forget about all this shit and swept this under the rug, but all these people remembered it because they were there. They saw it. It affected them directly. Let's see. I've got two more quick ones. Seiji Aizawa.
Okay.
Let's see. On December 10th, 3 days after Pearl Harbor, Seiji's father was taken away by the FBI.
Uh-oh.
That is not typical of these stories. FBI must have known something, or there must have been something going on. I don't know. But he was scooped up by the feds. Like, he was disappeared.
Jesus.
And there was no communication. None of the family knew where he was. Phone calls and letters were left unanswered. Seiji was 16 at the time. She lived in San Francisco's Japantown. She was in church on December 7th during Pearl Harbor.
Ooh.
So she had no idea. She just walked home from church, got home, and learned about the Pearl Harbor attacks.
Fuck.
Like, it's like me when 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
Except
Or
I'm
in
white.
reverse, yeah.
Like, it's like if I was a Middle Eastern American. You see how vague I am on that?
Yeah,
You're welcome. In kindergarten, and then I walk home from school and then see 9/11.
Jesus Christ.
Like, her father brought in the entire family, said Pearl Harbor happened, and starts lecturing the family. This guy kind of knew his stuff, and he says, remember, this is a quote, remember, the Japanese are not going to win the war, and you must also remember that you are Americans first. Well, I think he said first of all.
Oh, okay.
So he was immediately like, they're not going to win, but it's going to be rough for us because
Yeah.
the relation. He saw it very, very quickly. And it's even suspected that he knew it. I mean, he saw the writing on the wall well
Yeah, 'cause he was
ahead
a
of this.
spy.
Because he was a fucking spy picked up by the FBI. No, it's suspected. She thinks that he was arrested because they never were given an official reason. He was never charged with anything.
Yeah.
Of course not. But she thinks he was arrested because he owned a Japanese bookstore. Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he also held meetings with local Japanese immigrants to discuss world events.
Oh, okay.
It was like, hey, other Japanese immigrants like myself, come in, let's have some coffee or whatever,
let's
and let's just
talk.
talk about how the world is going.
Because we all think similarly. We have similar backgrounds.
Yeah, we're in a similar
viewpoints.
place.
Yeah, we're in a similar situation.
They have a very similar viewpoints.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And that sounds like he's got a spy ring, I think,
my God.
you know.
Yeah.
Let's see. So they pretty much stayed at their father's Japanese bookstore until they were forced to the Tanforan Assembly Center, which was the horse stalls
Okay.
that I talked about. And then in fall 1942, they were sent to Topaz. This whole time, no communication with their father.
Jesus.
Eventually, while at Topaz, they get a letter, and it's from their dad, apparently. And he says that he had been held at an immigration facility and then sent to a POW camp in Missoula, Montana, and then sent to a military detention center, and then to a Justice Department camp in Texas,
My God.
which I didn't even know existed.
God damn.
Apparently, it was like a POW camp for, like, political prisoners, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, no, that America doesn't have that. Yeah, in Texas, of course. But the fact that he was sent to a POW camp, like, they were fully sure that this guy was a combatant.
Good Lord.
Let's see. Eventually, as the tensions kind of died down, as the war was coming to an end, they were allowed, a new order came through that allowed Japanese people to relocate to whatever camp their father happened to be at. It was so widespread that they tore families apart that they had to put in a new law to allow them to relocate back together.
God damn.
That's, to put it in perspective, how many people were just families split up.
That's insane.
Let's see. So she and one of her siblings stayed in Topaz to finish school. Her mom and her sister went to Texas to be with the dad. And the brother that she was staying with went off to college. Mm-hmm. He was given permission basically it's basically being on parole. Check in with us, go to college as long as you get good grades. Okay, whatever. And she was able to kind of get what was essentially work release, but for local college. Mm-hmm. And she starts taking some classes and stuff. And finally, things are starting to, die down. It's always this kind of transition point that I find really interesting. She was given some leave from school and from Topaz to go visit her family in Crystal City, which is the camp in Texas.
Okay.
Let's see. Before, like in between semesters, she was given some time. Weirdly enough, at the bus station, she runs into her brother, who was at college. He was like, I'm going to go back and visit my family before the semester starts. And they met up, and they're able to have this really, they were able to ride on the bus together. And it was really nice because she would have been sitting alone on a bus full of white people who just had 4 years of allowed racism and decades of slightly less allowed racism, against her. Just slightly less.
That's rough. What a fucking miserable goddamn ride.
Yeah. Let's see. So it's like being the first black person to ride a bus in Alabama after it was legalized.
God damn, that's a good
We know how that all
what
went.
A comparison, Jesus.
Let's see. So that helped a lot, and she was able to see her father for the first time in over 2 years. He had lost a ton of weight. It aged him. He was not,
sure, dude.
It was not great. They were able to spend about a week together, and cherry on top of their visit, her and her brother are heading back. They got to see the family. It was nice. They decided, let's stop together, before their routes split, and get some lunch in San Antonio. They went into this diner, and they were told to get the fuck out, essentially.
Oh
they were refused service.
Leave it to Texas to be
Fucking San Antonio. And these are just, God, I just don't understand it. And that was like all right, and now the rest of our lives can start. That's how it started for them.
Great.
Their adult lives. Let's see. The last one I've got here is Helen Harland Christ. That's a good name. Let's see. This is more of a lighter-hearted kind of.
End it on a high note.
End it, kind of. Just a people are people kind of thing, Mm-hmm. So Helen had a friend named Hannah. Hannah lived on block 28, Barrack 4, which was behind Helen's block. And they would open their back windows to call out and talk to each other. But their parents found out and they got in trouble, so they couldn't do that anymore. They tried to run a string with 2 cans, one on each side, between the windows, and then they closed the windows and tried to talk into it. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Because a string has to buzz and it has to be kind of tight.
It has to be tight.
So that didn't work. So they're bummed out because we can just talk to each other while walking to and from school, which in a concentration camp, that isn't a very far walk.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So another friend that they had's name was Mitzi. But Helen didn't like going over to Mitzi's barrack because her parents had started buying this incense from Sears.
Oh.
And it was too heavy. It was stinky. It was probably just patchouli forest.
Yeah, right.
Just stinky.
Damn, dude, just buy Nag Champa.
I know. Nag Champa's fucking awesome. Let's see. So, she wouldn't go over there. They also had some friends named Ruth and Marino. They lived in Barrack 4 and Barrack 11. So, they were all over the place. But they were all about the same age. They shared a lot of common interests. Their most common interest shared is that they were all jealous because the older girls in the camp had a secret club.
Oh.
And they were called the Toughies.
The Toughies.
The Toughies.
Damn.
The boys had a club too, but they didn't care about that.
They were called the Puffies.
Yeah, the puffy nipples.
Puppies.
Let's see. So one of their brothers was like, "Why don't you guys make your own gang?" Because they would just yap on and on.
And
about,
they go,
"These
we're
guys
called
have
the fucking Yakuza."
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, they start tattooing each other. No, they get, they're yapping about it all the time. They won't shut the fuck up. The Toughies are going around doing this. Did you see what they were doing? Fucking kids suck. So one of their brothers was like, "Why don't you guys just make a gang? You can be called the Rowdies."
Uh-oh.
Because you guys are so rowdy.
He's like, why don't you call yourselves the annoying little shitheads?
Yeah. Let's see. So they were like, maybe we will. So they set up their own gang. They set up their meetings, a schedule, their rules, secret password, secret language, Pig Latin.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Jesus. Every other gang is using the same fucking thing.
Exactly. They divided their roles. They had president, secretary, vice president, and treasurer.
Jesus.
They definitely need that treasurer in their concentration camp. Let's see. And then they had to figure out what
that was the role for the fat girl that they didn't like.
Kind of was.
One of the other girls, like, ugly younger sister.
Yeah, it was definitely the youngest.
I don't know, treasurer Misty.
You can look Mitzi. No,
No,
they
that
called
was-
her Misty. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing, is the intentional fucking up of someone's name. Yeah, so they're like, okay, now what the fuck is the point of this? Why do we have a gang?
To kill the Toughies.
We must kill.
To eradicate
Everyone.
the Toughies and the Puffies.
To create a camp within this camp to send the Puffies to.
Yeah.
No, they were like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to stay up past sunset.
Whoa.
And we're going to spy on the other gang meetings.
Whoa.
And
that does sound like some young gang shit.
we're going to maybe go to the Japanese language school. They didn't really want to do that one, but it was an idea.
Yeah. It was an idea that Misty put forward, and they're like,
Yeah.
shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up, Misty.
Misty. It's Mitzi. No, it's not.
No, you're wrong. Your mom told me that she just told you wrong. Let's see. So, yeah, it was. They were able to eat lunch together every day, with their secret sign language and secret Pig Latin.
And then the U.S. got word, and they were like, whoa, there's
They
spy
started
groups. Split them
firing-
up.
yeah.
Send them to prisoner fucking camps in Texas.
No, they started just shooting into the crowd.
Yeah.
Now they were allowed to eat lunch together, but it was really, really loud because it was a free for all for lunchtime. But they made do, avoiding the brothers, avoiding the other other gangs. And they had to get permission from their moms, of course. So after lunch, they went to go spy on the other gangs, the other groups, because they're like, oh, these guys are always getting up to no good. They're always going on adventures in this concentration camp. Mm-hmm. They're always doing stuff. So okay, let's sneak around, go find that person. Okay, I'll go find this person. You go spy on that person. They split up, go spy, and then they'd meet up and exchange their info. But basically, everybody was just at home.
Yeah,
nobody was doing shit
stalkers.
Because what else are you going to do?
Yeah, because you're in a concentration camp.
Yeah, so they're looking in the windows of the barracks in a concentration camp and being like, oh, they're actually really boring. And it turns out they're just telling us that they're doing shit because they want to look cool.
Yeah.
or something.
Shit.
Well, so that night at dinner, they were like, okay, what else? A secret club. We'll have a secret club party in our concentration camp. They really have no bearing on, they were young enough that they didn't really understand.
They're like, oh, we're at camp. No, this is way worse.
They really didn't know. So let's see. They set up to have this little secret club party. So they hid their dinner cake under their shirts when their mom wasn't watching them. And they met up at their secret meeting spot, which was the bench next to the camp showers.
Jesus Christ.
Luckily, these were just showers. Not many concentration camps can you say that about. And immediately, it was probably Misty, dropped her cake.
Fucking dumb bitch. Goddamn treasurer.
Right into the sand. Fucking treasurer.
Don't share with her.
Another one showed up. No cake at all.
Oh, share with her.
Cakeless. And then the other lady, the fourth one, showed up. No cake at all. And just got yelled at because their mom found them smuggling cake.
God, this gang is fucking dog shit.
Don't worry, though. One of them came with a single cup of water because they couldn't bring their cake.
Dude, what the fuck?
And then the person who brought their cake, the first person there, accidentally dropped their cake into the dirt.
Jesus Christ.
So they now have no cake and a half-empty cup of water because she tripped and spilled some on her shirt.
I love that all of these are just like everything on this story specifically is like a slow news day. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, they planned this event and then,
Didn't work.
it didn't happen because they're all fucking idiots.
Yep. And then as they're having their party where they share half an empty cup of water, someone walked by and said, "You guys are too loud. What are you doing?"
It's too fucking late. It's past curfew. Go to bed.
So they
Ended their
buried their cake and
Jesus Christ.
went off to bed. They never disbanded their gang, but they
God,
never
they
held a meeting
fucking
again.
Should have.
This was one of the happier memories of this lady, Helen Christ.
Christ, Helen, that is not a happy memory, for fuck's sakes.
I mean, that kind of shows. I mean, they're in a concentration camp.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
No, I
a
know.
happy.
I know.
On the scale of concentration camp memories, I see it.
She's like, oh, yeah, I remember when we completely fucked up that party. And it's like, oh, I asked for a happy memory. And she goes, that was the happy memory.
That was the happy memory.
Jesus Christ,
yeah.
Helen.
Topazstories.com if you want more of these. There are a lot of very, very short ones.
Yeah, if you feel like slipping into a depression,
Yeah.
check it out.
Or being inspired by human resiliency, I guess, if you want to look at it positively. We don't here. So if you want to slip into a depression, topazstories.com. Yeah, I just really wanted to share kind of those personal stories.
Yeah.
The difficult thing with learning about or listening to history is that history is inherently dehumanized.
Mhm.
It's easy to look at statistics and numbers and say 110,000 Japanese Americans were sent to concentration camps.
It's hard to know what like the day-to-day was like.
It's more personal to say this person's dad was scooped up by the FBI and was completely gone for months and months with no contact. And suddenly you can empathize a little bit more, especially because that Canadian immigrant, not even immigrant, that Canadian tourist scooped up 2 weeks
Yeah.
for no fucking reason. Like people are putting countries are putting travel advisories out. So, in impending fascism, I'll leave you with this. Educate yourself on local resources. Listen out for opportunities to provide those resources to people who don't know about them. Build your community. Buy a gun. Like, you can go as far as you want, but, build up a community and actually stand up for them. 'Cause if more people stood up, maybe those concentration camps wouldn't have happened. Possibly. Because guess what? 110,000 people along the West Coast is a sizable amount of people to protest.
Yeah, that's a ton.
The problem is they didn't have any support of many other people at all who were willing to stand up for him. Because it's the war. It's wartime necessity. Don't fall for the bullshit propaganda.
It's war, but I'm still kind of racist.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
It's still this month.
Yeah.
It's not the first.
We got it on time. Actually, not anymore.
No, it is now the 31st.
Oh, I thought, dude, my days have been off so bad. Yeah. Hell yeah. Perfect.
So there we go.
April Fool's. This is coming out on the 2nd.
Oh, shit.
What?
It is April next month.
Yeah.
We should record a 420 episode for the exclusive.
I mean, 420 falls on a Sunday.
It's Easter, it's Sunday, and it's Adolf Hitler's birthday.
Yeah. So
I've been spouting that without
we'll
actually
see.
verifying that.
May end up being busy that day.
It is actually. I have verified that before. But, I mean, like ahead of time, then we'll schedule
My
it out.
grandpa's birthday, too. He's
Your
dead
grandpa's
now.
Hitler? Yeah, he killed himself in a bunker during the war.
Yeah.
You heard it here first,
Yeah,
folks.
it's true.
D.
I know where Hitler was in the 1960s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's for me
D-Dolph.
to know and you to find out.
D-Dolph Hitler, your host.
Jesus. All right, we'll see you guys next month.
See ya.